So the new movie Paint, starring Owen Wilson, is kind of a mix between a Bob Ross biopic and a Wes Anderson movie. But if you kind of took away all the things that make a Wes Anderson movie stick out visually, you get this movie. So Paint is a new film that has come out. It's a smaller film, not getting as much traction as Super Mario and Air, but this is a film written and directed by, I think it's a first-time director, Brit McAdams, who wrote the screenplay about 12 or 13 years ago, if I read that information correctly. And they finally turned it into a film all these years later. And it's essentially a character named Carl Nargle, played by Owen Wilson, who is a Bob Ross type figure for this local PBS station. And it's essentially the story of his dealing with his fame and kind of a newcomer coming in and kind of disrupting his way of running this station and his lot in life. And so it's got quite a few things going on. There's Carl Nargle also has a love interest in this movie, played by Michaela Watkins as Catherine, and she is also a big part of this film, kind of that emotional foil as we dive back into Carl's past. And then you also have the new coming painter that the station brings in to kind of juice up the numbers, add a little youthful livelihood to this film, and she's played by Ciara Renee, playing Ambrosia. And I thought this whole cast was pretty good. Then you have Stephen Root as well, playing the station manager. And so there's a lot of stuff here at play. And as I mentioned kind of in my opener, is slightly a joke. It does feel, to me at least, like a Wes Anderson movie. It just didn't have that Wes Anderson style to it. And it didn't have as much of the sharp wittiness that you would come to expect from a Wes Anderson movie. That said, though, this film does have quite a bit of wit and humor that I actually enjoyed. A little dry on the drier side, but I was actually okay with it. I know there's a lot of reviews going out right now that aren't being too kind to this or, knocking it down, and I thought it was fine. I thought, it wasn't going to be a Wes Anderson film, and it never gets to those heights, but for what it is, it's actually not bad. I found it enjoyable. It does meander a bit here and there, but I wasn't ever really bored. I was kind of curious where everything was kind of going, and while the story is pretty simple and kind of figuring out Carl's motivation for painting and maybe what's been blocking him and keeping him painting the same thing over and over and over again for what seems like decades, we kind of sort of start digging into what and why he does what he does there. It's just they never fully, I think, take advantage of the canvas, pardon the pun, that they had here, because there is actually a lot of stuff that they could have mined here and really gotten to some really emotional, deep places. And had this been a film done by a Wes Anderson, I think this would have been a knockout of the park. I think it needed a little more style to it. While it was trying to imitate like a Bob Ross sensibility, it did just still feel a little dry at times, I guess, but I didn't find it that bad. Is it going to be the greatest film you're going to see this year? No. Is it going to be the worst film you're going to see this year? Certainly not. It's a nice little indie film, and every once in a while, these are great palate cleansers for kind of everything else that's come out. Like, we've had a lot of the big action and superhero movies, come out lately. We just had Super Mario Brothers come out, which is being dominated. Even when I went to see this film today, the lobby was just completely filled with people and kids in Mario costumes, which is great. Get out to the theater, support your theaters, no matter what you're going out to see. But also, it is important to support these smaller films, and we don't get a whole lot of these that make it to the theater, so I always like to try to go and check them out whenever I can. So that's why I'm going to see this. I appreciated it, and I had a good time watching it. Flawed, surely, but I think you could go and have a good time. I'm going to give this film a B-. It doesn't, it almost skirts that line between a C+, but I think there's enough here to warrant giving it the B-. And, it starts with that cast. I think it's a great cast. I think it's an interesting world they do kind of set up, because it is in this weird, and I don't know if it's just because it's the location they set the film in, but it does have this weird, you're not really clear on what time period it is. It seems like it's set modern day, but they're using a lot of old school technology, but it's not blended in such a way that makes it feel like one of those stylized like noir films where it's like it's present day, but everything's, you know, aesthetically like the 1940s. It's nothing like that, but it is like they mention Uber, they mention modern devices, but at the same time they're using old school 90s computers. They're using old school like riggings for doing TV shows. So it was very interesting, this dynamic they set in. And while it's a modern world, very keeping this station and everything kind of in that like 80s-esque kind of era, early 90s era of public television. So it's a very weird dichotomy that they struck there. But, I think it's a charming little film. I would recommend it. I had a good time watching it. But yeah, have you guys had any interest in seeing the film Paint? Have you even heard of it? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys could please also leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. And until the next review, guys, I'll be seeing you.